Hello everyone, I wanted to come here today to do a little bit of a different video for Invisible Cities. And this video's focus is going to be in Nigeria, because that's one of the two countries that were decided for this month, for August. So I thought I will give you a little bit of a rundown of what I have learned from Nigeria based on what the things that I have read this month and other months. Nigeria is a country that is a wealth of literature. I think it's also well known in the West, and like other African countries, a lot of Nigerian literature makes it to this side of the world. So I do have a little bit more of understanding of Nigeria based on that literature. It's not like I have just read this one book about Nigeria. So I thought it would be interesting to go through some of the things that I have learned in my life about Nigeria, and maybe share some things that I find interesting, and some things that you might also find interesting, and hopefully you also can share what you learned from Nigeria in this month of Invisible Cities. Nigeria is a really big country in West Africa, and it has a lot of cultures as well. I think the ones that are most known are Igbo and Yoruba, but there are many other tribal groups in Nigeria, as it is often the case in Africa, because the colonizers just made countries with a ruler instead of considering the cultures of the people. But aside from that, yes, Igbo and Yoruba are usually the most prominent and most known groups that come from Nigeria, and there is a lot of culture that comes from Nigeria. I mean, there is Nollywood, which is like Hollywood or Bollywood. There are a lot of Nigerian movies that are produced in there, and they are very well known throughout Africa. I think a lot of Africans like to watch Nollywood movies. And that's a huge industry that the country is part of. But I think also there are a wealth of writers in Nigeria. I mean, I think one of the most known ones is Chinua Achebe. He is a classic of African literature, and I think all over Africa people do learn about Chinua Achebe's writing, because he writes about the arrival of the colonizers and how life was before and how life was after. A lot of his books deal with that transition, which I find really interesting, because I don't think it's something that it's often portrayed in books. But then we also can go to more current writers, like Ben Okri, which is something that I read this month for my Invisible Cities project, or Akweke Emezi, which is a trans non-binary author that is blurring all of the lines, I think. Chigozie Obioma, he was nominated for the Booker a couple of years ago. I personally didn't enjoy his books, but I think they still have a lot of value and a lot of people enjoy them, so there you go. And then if you are a little bit more on the general fiction, Oyinkan Braithwaite has, I think she has come out with another book recently, but her most famous one is My Sister the Serial Killer, which is a little bit of a comedy, mystery, literary book that, I read in a day and I loved. I don't think it's as literary as some people want to say, but I found it thoroughly enjoyable. And also there is Nnedi Okorafor, which is one of the main voices of the new Afrofuturism trend. So they do have a lot of authors, and a lot of them that arrive here. I have read from all of the authors that I have mentioned. I think my favorite is Ben Okri, because he is the one that tackles more of the politics, and his social commentaries are the most strong. But I think that all of them do have very interesting things to say. And one characteristic that not all of them, but many of them have, is the mix between the magical world and the spirits with the real world. I think for me that was especially prevalent in Freshwater by Akweke Emezi, where they explain about this woman that had a conflict on herself about her identity as a woman and as a person, and it was explained as this spirit that lives within her, and that's why she was feeling that way. And that is, I don't remember the exact name, but that spirit appears over and over again in Nigerian literature and Nigerian folklore. So yeah, I think that in a lot of the Nigerian literature, the spirit world does play a huge role, and there's a lot of sort of magical realism, but in a very characteristic way from that place, because in life normally there's all these witch doctors and these other things that are also part of the culture, and particularly in Ben Okri's literature, but in others as well, there's also a big presence of politics, because politics is a big thing in Nigeria, and it is unfortunately known as one of the most corrupt countries in the world, and there is a lot of corruption, but there's also a lot of movement to change that, and a lot of people that want to fight that and recognize that that is a problem that the country has and has to be solved. But that doesn't mean that the country in itself it's a bad country. In fact, Nigeria, it has one of the youngest populations in the world. It's a lot of Nigerians are very highly educated, and it's one of the booming economies of the world as well. So it is a place of contradictions in the way that it's developing. From what I understand from the literature I've read from there and the culture and the people that I have met there. But yeah, I think that often in too many African countries it happens that people tend to see them as these poor places that need help, but especially in Nigeria, I mean other countries in Africa as well, but especially Nigeria, it is a booming economy. It is a very interesting developing place. There's oil there, which makes them money flow more, but that also brings corruption, as often happens. But that doesn't mean that that's all the country is. The country is very culturally diverse, very rich. And yeah, I mean, I have never visited West Africa in general, but I would love to. And I think also one of the big parts of Western African culture and West African identity also lies in the food, as is often the case in many countries. I did try to make jollof rice, so I will put a montage of me trying to make jollof rice. I don't think it quite turned out the way that it was supposed to, but it was tasty anyway. But they also have pepper soup. They have fufu, which is similar to ugali but with cassava flour instead of maize flour. And I mean, they have very rich spicy food in general, from what I have tried and from what I have heard, which is quite different from other African countries. East Africa normally is not super spicy, and it's quite different cuisine between the different African countries. But yeah, in Nigeria there is a lot of spices involved in the process. And yeah, maybe I will try some other Nigerian food soon. But what I tried, I don't think it was quite there. But it was interesting to try anyway. I will love to try fufu as well. I think that will be an interesting one. And yeah, I think that that's more or less what I have learned from Nigeria and Nigerian literature throughout my time reading it. Let me know what you have learned from Nigeria. I think it's quite an interesting place, and if you have been there or you are from there, I would love to hear your perspective on things. And yeah, until next video, bye!